Due to his notoriety, he now works in underground battles, where his presence alone is enough to frighten opponents and force them to give up. He was once stabbed for causing a $500 loss. A girl by the name of Frankie approaches him. The owner of a pub is experiencing issues with disruptive guests. Police are unable to assist, and the hired guards frequently leave, prompting the owner to offer help. Frankie offers $5,000 every week to take over the amount, but Dalton declines. The girl gives him her phone number before leaving, but he appears to be unhappy since his fighting career ended. He was willing to end his life in the middle of the night when he ended the life of the man he was fighting with, whom he thought of as his friend. At the last minute, he regrets it, but his car won't start until the train is only a few meters away. In the end, it manages to move forward with a strong impact. He chooses to take the employment offer from the bar and takes the bus to Glasgow. Along the way, he encounters Charlie, a girl, outside a bookstore. She introduces herself and is kind to him. Her father, the owner of the bookstore, comes out and gives Dalton directions to get to the bar. When he arrived, he noticed the atmosphere was pleasant and peaceful, though not for very long once the sun sets. The bar turns into a hotbed of brawls with a guy named Billy. Attempts to calm things down but is just hit in the process. Later, a few motorcyclists show up and begin to break things and cause damage. After deciding that enough is enough, Dalton approaches the men to try to persuade them to leave, but they refuse to comply. So he leaves the bar and makes his way toward their motorcycles. By doing this, he draws the wrongdoers' attention. Dalton invites them to leave the area outside, but Dells, the band's leader, disputes this and approaches Dalton threateningly. Dalton doesn't lose his cool, and when he realizes the men do not understand, he strikes them very lightly, leaving them on the ground with several injuries. After finishing his work, he appears to be a little different. He gets them into a car and drives them to the closest hospital so that their wounds can be attended to. When a doctor named Eli finds out what transpired, she approaches Dalton to voice her anger. When Dalton gets stabbed, his knife wound opens up and stains his shirt. The doctor notices him, takes him inside, and gives him antibiotics.
Everyone is amazed at how easily he defeats the subjects, but he doesn't know that these men work for a wealthy and dangerous man named Ben Branch. Powerful family from Florida who built the majority of that property. However, his father got involved in illegal activity by selling illegal substances, which led to his detention and arrest, leaving all of his debts to his son. In actuality, Brand doesn't have any money, and he is in debt to other men to build a hotel for wealthy people, but to get it, he needs to own the bar. Frankie refuses to sell it to him, so he sends his men to cause trouble every night so Dalton can stay in the only hotel in town, but instead chooses to stay on Frankie's houseboat. The only warning he receives is to be on the lookout for a crocodile. The next day, Dalton is taken aback to discover that everyone seems to know him and addresses him by name. He goes to Charlie's bookstore to use the computer when two guys begin to bother Charlie, one of them holding a bat. He goes outside to tell them to leave, at which point they leave right away. It turns out that the town quickly learned about what happened at the bar the previous evening. Everything seems to be going well, and the bar manages to function normally, but that is about to end when Brand finds out what happened to his men. He immediately orders Dalton to be eliminated for the night, so he decides to walk home. The road seems empty when he sees a car approaching him at full speed. Dalton just misses it, but the driver comes around the corner and hits Dalton, causing the car to collapse. Dalton falls into the water first, then the truck. Fortunately, he survives and makes it back to his boat home, but there he finds out that he is not alone. The gang boss is waiting for him in the shadows with a shotgun aimed at the direction of Dalton. When he realizes this, he kicks a table, which causes him to stumble and lose a state of equilibrium just long enough to throw himself at it and toss it into the lake. Dalton wields the pistol and watches from above. The man believes that Dalton is going to take his life, but he assures him that this is not his plan by tossing the gun into the river. Suddenly, a crocodile attacks from beneath and grabs Adele by the legs when Dalton rushes to the man's head. The crocodile begins to spin and plunge into the water. The next morning, the police show up and attempt to find the man's body, but nobody thinks they can. Later, when they meet in Charlie's library, a different man approaches and hails him as he walks away. Dalton doesn't pay attention until the man reveals that he is carrying a gun beneath his shirt and says that she wants to speak with him about it. Dalton approaches the person, places it in front of him, breaks his fingers, and takes away his rifle. He does not try to talk to Dalton to get him to leave, but instead shows him a video of the night he killed his friend, which seems to hurt Dalton more than any punch at the end. After that, Bran walks out of the bar and gives Knox an order to destroy the entire place. He is accompanied by several men. arrives at the bar with the appearance of a thug, grabbing the attention of everyone in attendance before starting to smash tables with his stick. The men there attempt to stop him, but it is ineffective because he is stronger and quickly eliminates them. It turns into a brawl where men are punching one another and bottles are smashing and crashing against the walls. All of this is happening while Dalton is still sitting at the bar. He doesn't get up and approach him until he hears Knox call for him. When the two engage in combat, Dalton is quicker than Knox and can block a number of his attacks, but not all of them. Dalton soon finds his face covered in blood, and as Knox knocks him down to get up, he thinks enough is enough. He decides he has had enough and departs defeated. Frankie shows up to attempt to persuade him to stay, but he only comes to the houseboat to gather his belongings. After deciding what to do, Dalton heads to the bus stop in front of the bookstore. But when he gets there, he notices something is wrong. The bookstore is destroyed, and there are police present. Dalton approaches the store to find out where Charlie and his father are, and the police tell him they were taken away in an ambulance. As Brand discloses that he is detaining her as a precaution at that precise moment, Dalton at least activates the explosives, leaving everyone stunned. Dalton takes the opportunity to go in search of Eli. While trapped in a room, she tries to break the glass until Dalton appears. However, at that very moment, the glass breaks, leaving everyone submerged in the water. He and she manage to safely surface to top off the water. Suddenly, the psychopath Knox arrives, sailing at high speed toward Dalton and Ellie in a little boat. Luckily, he grabs the dead guy in the water. Dalton uses him as a shield, which is then hit by the boat. On the other hand, Ellie is captured by Brand, who puts her on a boat and leaves for Frankie's bar to destroy it. Knox tries to run Dalton over again, but he manages to hold onto the boat and sends them both into the water. Realizing this, Knox turns around and heads towards Dalton, intending to crash, but Dalton jumps at the last instant and grabs Brand's boat. However, he receives a blow that leaves him stunned. After which he begins fighting with the Brand, unaware that they are getting closer to the beach. And then the boat is launched through the air as Dalton leaps just before the boat collides in the center of the bar. A few steps ahead, Brand, still alive, fires a harpoon at Dalton that almost hits him. Dalton chases him in anger, slams Brand into a table, and breaks his nose. When Dalton eventually gets back up, Knox crashes into the bar with a small car, sending him flying. The two get into a fierce struggle, and Knox quickly gains the upper hand by throwing Dalton to the ground, embracing him, and strangling him with his arms, but he doesn't pause when Dalton is stabbed by a sharp piece of wood, leaving him with severe injuries from the debris. Then, it appears that Brand is telling Knox to kill him, but Knox is sick of hearing orders from Brand. Tired of hearing from him, Knox broke Brand's neck, putting an end to his life, but before he can finish Dalton stops him and, with the piece of wood in his abdomen, stabs Knox repeatedly until he stops breathing. At that point, Ellie arrives with her father, after sincerely thanking Dalton for saving his daughter. But later, as Dalton gets ready to leave, he gives Charlie and her father the suitcase full of cash.